As we enter the new year, the Top Door Slammer field can't wait to start racing. And the target, 7-time champ, John Zappia. And with the high-class field of 2015, even Zappia is feeling the heat.
There's plenty of cars that run 580s here. There's probably 5 or 6 cars that can run 580s, some that have and some that are that close to. It's just the guy that figures it out on the day. So we're going to try and qualify as fast as we can tonight.
Door Slammer would have to be the ultimate, absolute ultimate.
Big lower explosion. Is he going to catch it? No. And it's going to get worse with a second.
I think it's a full-on adrenaline rush. It's just fast and out of control.
They're crazy, they're fast, they look like a car, you know, people can relate to it. This looks like a Monaro and it's not supposed to go 400k an hour.
603, Pino Priolo, that is awesome.
You're going to have a lot of guts to do them. They don't drive straight, you don't know what they're going to do. You just need a big pair of kahunas.
But in all seriousness, I think you've got to be 110% respectful of the car.
They always go good, but when they go bad, watch out, because they're going to bite you.
Oh, dead late on the tree for Fabietti, all over the shop. He pulls it up just in time, but Morris Fabietti out of shape in a big way.
Sitting in the spot, you've got 3,000 horsepower at the swap of your feet.
Leaving the start line is just absolutely awesome. The thing just pulls and pulls and pulls all the way down a quarter mile.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't do it otherwise. You know, when it stops being fun, then it's time to go fishing.
The thing takes off 0 to 100k's in less than 1 second, but man, when those chutes come out, it throws your eyeballs out, you know. It unloads the back of the car and you're fighting to keep the thing straight.
Oh no, Zappia into the fence and O'Rourke is going to do it. Claims his first win in Top Door Slammer.
So in 6 seconds, you've got a fair bit of stuff going on.
It's a brand new season of ANDRA Championship drag racing. It kicks off in the Wild West. It's the Perth Motorplex, one of Australia's finest motorsport venues. Doesn't matter what you're playing. And I've got Rusty Gregory alongside me. The setting sun over the Indian Ocean just around the corner. And we are ready to go Top Door Slammer racing.
How good is this? First round of the 2015 Australian Championship. We've got Top Door Slammer here, ready to go. Big field of Top Fuel motorcycles as well racing this weekend. Promises to be a huge event.
And a good crowd here too, who are lapping it up. Beautiful time of year to be in Perth. Fantastic place to watch motorsport. And the guy that they're all going to be chasing once again this year, has to be said, will be John Zappia. This is his home turf. The testing numbers for Zapp, whose last year's championship, you can see up on screen right now, have been impressive, under the national record, and Stuart Bishop and the boys have a lot of work to do.
They've got a lot of catching up to do, that's for sure. Stuart Bishop with a career best year last year, finished second in the points, and Grant O'Rourke as well in the top 3. What a fantastic effort from him.
Let's go down to Matt, who's with John Zappia.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Can't believe that a new championship is upon us. It's only been 8 weeks since we last raced in Sydney, and the championship restarts in Perth. Well, we're with a guy that won 7 championships now in ANDRA Top Door Slammer, and John Zappia, number 8, is looking good already this year after recent racing here in local races.
Yeah, no, this Fuchs Striker Monaro has been running really strong, and we've got Macca come on board this weekend as a new sponsor for this season. But look, the car's got the performance. Do we have the consistency? That's what we don't know yet. You know, the car's really powerful at the moment, and it's right on the edge. We just got to try to go rounds.
We've seen you in local races here. We've seen you in the 570s, touching 560s. Is there a possibility of that this weekend?
Oh, definitely. You know, like we were real close. We went at 571. It looked like the perfect run. We tried to back it up. We went at 574. We don't know whether now, do we leave it at that pace? Do we slow it down to like high 70s and see if we can make that consistent so that we can go rounds, you know?
The sky is the limit for John Zappia this weekend, and he is comfortably in the field for race day eliminations. 16 cars showed up, only 8 went through to eliminations today, and again, this is the place to kick off a championship. Let's check out those highlights right now, though, because we had some big highlights. We'll get to that in a second, though, Rusty.
Yeah, we will kick it off with Shane Catalano in that rebuilt Studebaker on the far side of the racetrack. Great to see him back in the ANDRA Drag Racing Series up against Mark Chapman, who has a big moment of his own, gets over into the other lane, but eventually gathers it up. Shane Catalano goes through a 687, not going to be good enough for race day, but man, oh man, big drive job from Mark Chapman.
Yeah, that thing has been wild all weekend. Stuart Bishop, a shock non-qualifier here this weekend, second in the championship. Gregorini, who went to a few finals, he's managed to find his way into the number 5 spot with that run.
5.96 from him, very, very solid. Very good conditions here for racing as well. Round 2 saw us dipping into the twilight times, and it was pretty much Disneyland for this man, John Zappia, with probably the run of the last 5 years, I'd say, Chad.
Here it comes, carries the front wheels. Chapman is sideways, but all eyes on the Monaro as he gets to the 60s, the first time ever in Australian door slammer racing. That's comfortably under the national record, a 5.68, and that is why the 8 p.m. session in Perth is just flavour country, as Matt would say.
It was an incredible pass, and you can see the track crew sticking their heads in, telling him what he ran, and the excitement inside that car would be absolutely palpable at the moment. We move on to another of our shock non-qualifiers, Peter Kapiris in that Chrysler Saratoga. A lot of tyre shake on board. We know he can run the big numbers, but it wasn't the case this weekend. 5.81 though for Morris Fabietti, finding his way back out of the wilderness, and he gets into the field.
Yeah, nice work from Fabs, one of his best ever passes, that 81. Marty Dack, another one of the strong local runners to watch out for, qualified inside the top half of the field with that very nice 5.91, but he has had problems with those motors in the last few rounds of last season. We went into the final round of qualifying, and Pino Priolo and Shane Catalano putting on a show, as they are a couple of guys who are trying to sneak their way into the field late into the last session. Look at the clutch dust at the back of Pino's car.
Yeah, really laying it down, trying to get this thing into the field, and he does so with a 5.97 at just a tick over 390 k's an hour. Catalano unfortunately couldn't make his way in, but then we move on to the biggest shock non-qualifier, Stuart Bishop in the Wallace Bishop Jewelers entry, number 2 in the points last year, and only good enough for a 6.05, number 10 in the final qualifying list. Not what any of us expected to see.
No, and O'Connor, who went 5.97 alongside him, was good enough. Here's Wayne Keys, speaking of local guys, and this is a monster effort from a local team, given the talent that's here this weekend, to go 5.83 for Wayne Keys. Just an amazing effort, but check this out. That thing's not stopping. He'll go all the way to the sand, but he's the number 3 qualifier inside the top half. Great effort.
I don't think he'd be too upset with going into the sand there. Number 3 headed into race day. He's A-OK, and I'm sure they'll get that car back for the first round of racing. We move on to Grant O'Rourke and Mark Chapman now. Grant O'Rourke, a solid performer from last year, finished 3rd in the points, and he gets into the field on this run with a 5.94. 5.94 it is, gets in the number 6 position, and Mark Chapman gets close, but just not quite enough.
Good to see Ryan Moresby having a crack at the ANDRA Drag Racing Series, the sportsman racer from the West. Gregorini alongside him, a nice pass, 5.91. First time in Perth's history we've had an all 5-second field. Check that out. The man who goes missing, Gary Phillips, 9th qualifier, does so with a 5.98. That's incredible. A 5.98 not getting you into the field this weekend. And John Zappia, amazing with that 5.68.
Well, if you think 7 championships is going to stop John Zappia and ANDRA top door slammer, you are wrong. This guy's just gone 5.68 in qualifying 2, and John, plenty more still in this car.
Oh, look, we didn't expect that. We actually slowed it down a little bit from the last run. And, you know, the thing comes out and goes to 5.68, but it wheel stood in first gear. It started to rattle, and I did a quick pedal punch second gear. It wheel stood higher in second, went to the right towards the wall. Luckily put the front down so I could get back in the middle, and it goes that, you know, at 253.52 mile an hour into probably a 16 mile an hour headwind. So just unbelievable. It's just going better and better and better.
Well, now the question is, can John Zappia back it up? And in terms of the national record, that's one thing he's going to have to do, but he just needs to be very careful today that he doesn't try and push the barriers too far, Rusty, and go too fast and find himself losing drag races. It can happen. We check out today's race ladder thanks to Snap-on Tools.
A very, very solid field of top door slammers, populated by West Aussies. It has to be said, only one non-West Aussie in this field, and that is Morris Fabietti. Of course, Grant O'Rourke now calls Queensland home, but the rest of them, they're all locals, and they have made their way into this first round of the championship and the field for this first round of the championship. First matchup, Daniel Gregorini. What a fantastic looking car this is, up against Marty Dack.
Lovely side-by-side burnouts, and there are a few things that take me back to my childhood, like the 6 p.m. session, round 1 eliminations at the Perth Motorplex, door slammers rolling through, whether it was Victor Bray back in the day, John Zapier, or the current crop that we have. And this is a great example of 2 current racers that have been definitely taking some names in Australian drag racing. Marty Dack, who made the final of the Nationals, and Daniel Gregorini went to the final of the Winter Nationals. These 2 guys are talent.
Yeah, took home a trophy from Perth last year as well, Daniel Gregorini. Got to say, though, I hope Marty Dack has sorted out his engine issues from last year. It was really chewing up a lot of parts getting towards the end of last year. Had a little bit of time off to reorganise coming into the new season, so hopefully they've got that sorted. He's obviously got the performance there. He's made his way into a very tough field, the first all 5-second field that we've seen here in Perth. But that being said, I bet he hopes that he's sorted out those engine issues as well.
Yeah, there were some major backfires through that supercharger, which sticks through the bonnet of that Ford towards the end of last season. Gregorini also had his issues, had a big fix to do after a nasty crash at the X-Champs in Sydney. Here we go, first eliminations race for 2015. Both cars striking a little bit of trouble. Dack will get the win, light proof that you don't need to run national records to go the rounds in top door slammer racing. Gregorini struck troubles very early.
All about the consistency here for Marty Dack, although he had his own troubles. Big handful at half track. A 6:29 usually wouldn't get the win in top door slammer, but it was enough on this occasion. Dan Gregorini, that car was just violent, struck the wheelie bars on the launch, threw it over to the centre line, and that was all she wrote. Marty Dack on to round 2.
Gregorini's car did a big wheel stand, sent him towards the centre line when it put all the weight on the rear tyres and shook them hard. This is what it looks like inside a top door slammer. You're riding with Wayne Keys, 580s in qualifying, and earlier today he sat down with our Matt Nolte.
Oh, you know what, I think considering we run a different supercharging system to everybody else in the field, to have run the first 5-second pass in Australia in a roots-blown door car is a pretty good achievement, I believe. We've done what we think as best we can do as far as qualifying goes. The car went very well for us yesterday. Hopefully we can achieve that again today. We had tried a while ago to run in top door slam and didn't have a lot of success. The car's going a lot better now, and we think we've got the package that can probably take us a couple of rounds tonight.
We've said it before, Rusty, 580s can definitely win you any drag race you go into.
Absolutely it can, especially in top door slammer as it stands at the moment, because, and we've heard John Zapier talk about this, they can run the numbers, they can pull out the big runs every now and then, but the consistency is what a lot of these guys are lacking. Wayne Keys is a guy who certainly knows how to deliver that consistency.
Cool shot, riding with the starter who flicks the switch and sends the chaos down the quarter mile. Keys versus O'Rourke, round 1.
Wow, what a race. Grant O'Rourke, 6:27, gets the win. It wasn't quick, but man, it was spectacular. Both cars having their problems.
Well, let's first of all look to the right. The Monaro was really out of shape at half track. O'Rourke had already had a very decent pedal by that point as well. He was quickest away from the start line. Let's watch from behind. That's the starter's view. O'Rourke got off and out of the groove. Did a good job to get that thing back in and get the win light.
Wow, what a race. We're not seeing quick runs here in the first round of racing, but they are very, very good races. As we move on to the next pass, it is Murray O'Connor, the local boy in the Ford, taking on Morris Fabietti, the Sydney sider via Victoria.
It's so typical of round 1 at the Motorplex. Everybody comes out and rattles the tyres. Why? They just watch the racetrack get baked in the sunlight all day, and everyone gets so worried about the track temperature that they if anything, under-predict or just don't quite respect just how grippy the track levels are.
Yeah, they tend to back the cars down, and what happens is the tyre can't get out of its own way. Those big rear slicks, they tend to start running over themselves, which creates the tyre shake that we've seen on so many occasions over here in Perth, especially with top door slammers. What that does, it unsettles the rear of the car. Sometimes you see it go straight up into tyre smoke. Other times you see the car go right, left, up, down. It can do just about anything, and these drivers really need to be on their game.
O'Connor has a lot of data running at 6 p.m. First eliminations round in Perth. Babs is no stranger, though, to running at this time of year either.
Great to see Maurice Fabietti making it into the field as well. And the number 2 spot had a booming run, 5.81, but when you consider it was, well, all that way behind John Zappia with that 5.68, incredible pass. But Morris, I think, would be happy just to make the field here. First round matchup against Murray O'Connor.
Red light for O'Connor. And the noise goes out for Fabietti. Goodness me.
Wow.
A 6.21, and it means absolutely naught. He threw it away at the tree.
Just ever so slightly. Had a little bit of tyre shake, and looks like Maurice Fabietti may have just blown a fitting off the back of the supercharger there. A lot of fuel blowing up over the windscreen. Doesn't matter how you win it as long as you do, and Murray O'Connor handed that one to him on a silver plate.
Rather be lucky than good sometimes. Fabietti gets away with one and goes through to the next round. Now this is interesting. We're seeing John Zappia line up in the right-hand lane. Typically in Perth, anyone who's got lane choice will take the right-hand lane for the first round of eliminations because it gets the shade earlier than the left-hand lane. But typically Zappia doesn't like driving in the right-hand lane because he's got to go by looking at the mirror that sits on the A pillar. Here he comes. What's he got in store against Pino Priolo? Pino caught up with Matt Nolte also earlier today.
Probably the greatest achievement, yeah, that 5.97, to make a class field, the first 5-second top 8 in Western Australia is just unbelievable. And you know, like the people here have just done a fabulous job with the presentation, the sponsorship, Home Group WA, the track, the preparation. A lot of effort has gone into it. We have one of the best venues in the world.
It's been a long time coming, this first 5. Aaron Deary, who we're standing behind right now, has played a big part. So too is Michael Marriott, and it's so good seeing Pino get that 5. Much deserved.
Absolutely, and you've got to remember as well, it was this event last year that really got Pino on board with running the rest of the season. He had such a good showing at the first couple of events over in Perth that he said, hey, you know what, we can actually run with these door slammer guys, we're going to give them a run, and he chased the rest of the championship.
Zappia, the number, 5.73 to back up that national record, there or thereabouts, give or take 100. Big ask on the 6 p.m. session. Semi-finals will be the time to do it, but he's got to get around Pino Priolo first. We're yet to see anyone run a good time in this first round of eliminations.
Very tough first round matchup for Pino Priolo, but not exactly a pushover either for John Zappia.
Well, Pino's having some problems staging the car here. And he's been timed out as a result. It may have even rolled through the beams. Zappia's going the long way. Disappointing to see a race end that way, and he just about could have done it too because Zappia only runs a 6.
Leaves the door open. The opportunity was there to knock out the champ, and you're dead right, Chad. I think he rolled the beams there. And unfortunately for him, recorded that red light start, and John Zappia had that thing loaded up, picked up the front wheels, hit the wheelie bar really hard, shook the tyres, and only a 6.1 second pass in the end.
The view from the starter, bizarre one. It looked like he was flicking the stage beams, the full stage beams, and thought that maybe he wasn't in, so he went further. It just happens so often at the Motorplex in that lane at this time. Maybe a strange phenomenon. Let's listen in.
Yeah, you overstage.
An unusual one, Rusty.
Yeah, indeed, but it sets up a very interesting semi-final matchup. Maurice Fabietti and Grant O'Rourke in the battle of the only non-West Aussies in the field, and Marty Dack will take on the 7-time champ, John Zappia. That's your snap-on race ladder.
It's lining up nicely. Cannot wait to see how the semi-finals are going to come to fruition and how much further can John Zappia take the speed that he has over the field. We're going to go to a short break, and on the other side, we'll flick our attention over to Top Fuel Motorcycle. Do not go anywhere. We're racing the Perth Motorplex. Menacing. Ballistic. Dangerous. Few words can describe Top Fuel Motorcycle. This weekend, the two-wheeled Gladiators return to face the devil. Because despite its unpredictability, one thing is certain. Top Fuel Motorcycle is infectious.
If you knew what they were like, you probably wouldn't get on them. They're pretty scary. You're basically stepping on a grenade, as has been said by a few guys in the past in the big cars. It's like literally being fired out of a cannon.
The adrenaline, the speed, there's nothing on earth like it. You know, you can't, it's hard to explain. You've got to try it once. Once you've tried it, you just can't go back to nothing else. It spoils you, everything else in the world.
You're unforgiving. You're like the power of them is just sheer ballistic. You're slacking off the knees, you're going to be in serious trouble.
These things are bombs. These things can blow up at any stage, as we know. When you hit that throttle, it's just bang it and hang on.
The bikes do 100 mile an hour in a second at the hit. They pull 4Gs off the line. They do 210 mile an hour to half track, 1,500 horsepower at the back tyre, just under 400 kilometres in 6 seconds flat.
The feeling of the front wheel coming up, and then when it smashes up to 200 miles an hour and everything starts doing the bloody past your eyes, there's just nothing like it.
You've got to have a respect, you've got to have a bit of fear to keep you on your game so that you're wary of them. The minute you relax, they'll bite you.
Nitro is just the best. It's horsepower.
Best thing you can do to close on.
Top Fuel Motorcycle set to take centre stage at the Perth Motorplex. This is Nitro Slam, the opening event on the ANDRA drag racing calendar, a shortened calendar that will finish in June at the Winter Nationals. And I can't wait to see who's going to be taking home the gold Christmas tree at the end of this 6-month season.
Yeah, indeed, but we kick it off here in Perth with a massive field of Top Fuel motorcycles, probably the biggest we've had in living memory. 13 of the Nitro burners here in Perth. It's going to be a massive event for them.
Hard to really pick a winner out of this one. We see Mark Drew obviously as our champion last year, and Chris Matheson with the new motorcycle starting to creep up with a bit more speed on the Harley. I guess he's kind of sport for choice again this year.
And you've got Chris Porter as well in there, a former national champion.
Here is how they finished up at the end of last season. And Mark Drew was a comfortable winner in the end. Chris Matheson had his ups and downs, even got electrocuted at one point in the year up in the Northern Territory. But Matt Nolte is with the defending champ.
Well, 12 months ago, he was on a different bike. He won here in Perth on his way to winning the championship. Gets to the halfway point, he debuted a new bike, and Mark Drew, since he got that new bike, it's been fast.
Yeah, we bought it in probably last April. We ran it in June at the Winter Nationals. We ran it at 6:37, reset the national record, about 228 mile an hour I think we done. And yeah, we're looking forward to defending our title this year.
Is there pressure this weekend? Because this is one of the biggest fields we've had in about 3 or 4 years for Top Bike. Is there pressure on you this weekend?
No pressure. The main thing is to get make sure nothing's missed. You know, no loose lines. It's eliminations. So once you lose, you're out. So you can't have any mistakes, sort of thing. You know.
He is as fast as he is unflappable, and the championship is his to defend in 2015, Mark Drew. And once again, we can expect him to be very fast in that Harley. It's just been phenomenal since it arrived in the country. We're going to check out the qualifying highlights of what was a big field. Only 8 to go through from the 13.
Yeah, it was an incredibly large field, 13 bikes. Unbelievable. Largest field that we've seen for 4 or 5 years. That's Mark Ashelford on screen now. A great looking bike, the LA Tattooed studio bike. Taking on Chris Matheson on board the Jackhammer, the new V-twin Harley. And Ashelford getting very close to that wall on that pass, getting the chutes out early as a result. The wind usually pushes across the racetrack, at least in a diagonal effort to try and get him back into the middle of the racetrack. And for Matheson, we have seen him dip into the 6s already on this bike. Another good clean pass, carrying the front wheels like these Nitro Harleys like to do. Rolls off the throttle a little bit early for Chris Matheson, improves with a 692 there, so consistently in that 690 zone, which will win you a lot of races in Top Fuel motorcycle.
Absolutely will do. Greg Durack not on a Nitro bike. He runs Turbo Kawasaki. That thing really hauls though. And he is in the 6s this weekend. And Les Holden, fellow West Aussie, does qualify in the number 8 spot. Good to see Ben Stevens returning to championship drag racing. Qualified in door slammer, now running on 2 wheels.
Yeah, a very, very big change, and he qualifies in the field with a 7:43, and Wayne McGuinness on the near side of the racetrack.
This is the guy they're all chasing in season 2015, and he just makes it look so easy, doesn't he? Mark Drew is the #1 qualifier here this weekend with that 6:58. More highlights from Mark Drew coming shortly, by the way.
Chris Porter, nice to see him get down the racetrack cleanly. A very nice pass with the flames all the way out the pipe. 6:99, 327 kilometres per hour. As we move into round 3 of qualifying, the final round for Top Fuel motorcycles. So if they have to make a move, now is the time to do it. And check this out.
Sad to see it happen once again. Big fire. But look at this thing from Drew. It gets all the way to the fence. He somehow corrects it at over 300 kilometres per hour. And unfortunately, that is another explosion for Porter. And once again, he will not be making race day as a result.
Yeah, incredible explosion, but Drew on that motorcycle, he laid it over like a MotoGP bike, still managed to get it pulled up, and he is your #1 qualifier heading into race day. Chris Matheson, the 3-time champion, is in second, and Chris Porter is in third, but unfortunately we won't see him on race day. Too much engine damage after that third round of qualifying.
In Ashford and Terry Burnett, the two big names to go missing, but that is an amazing effort from Ben Stevens on his first race meeting in Top Fuel motorcycle to make the field. Very, very impressed with Ben's effort. Let's see how he goes. He is the nephew of a very capable rider as well in Kim Stevens, who we used to see running in Top Fuel motorcycle a few years ago. So that's how they'll line up. We said that Porter was going to pull out. That's unfortunately happened, which means that Stevens will win his first ever race as well.
Yeah, indeed, and some interesting first-round matchups as well. Greg Durack, Mark Ashelford, that's a big one for me. Wayne McGuinness and Chris Matheson, another huge one. And Les Holden taking on the reigning national champ, Mark Drew.
They're incredibly raw machines, Top Fuel motorcycles. And there's plenty of ways to go making power in this category. Greg Durack has proven that with this turbo Kawasaki Forbes Mills engineering motor, and it's a piece of work, this bike. I've loved seeing it race over the last few years. Anyway, Matt Nolte earlier today caught up with his opponent.
Well, Mark, take us through one of your greatest achievements in anything in life.
Well, there's heaps, but sport-wise drag racing, I'd go Europe. That was excellent. 5.5 months there. The champions I raced against all the other countries, and they champion themselves as well as the European. I suppose the biggest highlight in my drag racing career would have been this time last year, winning on the Saturday in the final for my mum, and that was years ago.
It was an emotional win, and today he'll be racing without his brother in the eliminations battle because Ian was a non-qualifier. So Nitro Harley versus Turbo Kawasaki. It's brutal, this thing, and it takes win lights, 6:78. That was just a time that Greg Durack was never going to better. So right on board with the Quacker. That is the way he shifts the gears with his thumb. Pretty cool, but convincing victory.
It was a very convincing victory, and it's got to be said, 6:78, and that was a long way from a full run as well for Mark Ashelford. So that bike, once they get it sorted, that will certainly be a bike that's able to really give it to Mark Drew with those 630s that we've seen.
Very interesting safety devices going on around his neck. I've not seen too many of those lately.
Very motocross style.
Yeah.
In the head and neck restraint. I guess you can't really run a traditional hands device on these things, but obviously if you do come off them, you want to try and stop your head from whipping around. So Mark Ashelford taking advantage of what's on track. And, well, this is a big moment for Ben Stevens. First time ever on track in a championship round, and he's going to win his first round of racing courtesy of a solo pass.
Aaron Deary helping him into stage. That's the view from the starter as he roars away from the big screen here at the Motorplex. I wouldn't mind having that telly in my living room just quietly, make up the entire wall. And Ben Stevens will cruise through to the semi-finals. Bit of work to do, still getting used to that bike. He's only just recently licensed. And that was the view from up in the stands.
He had a couple of stabs at it this time around, and the good news for him was that he was on a solo pass. Rolls it through, not exactly a representative run, but still through to the semi-final.
As a multiple champion comes out. That shot from above really showed how thin the groove is. I know it's on a bit of an angle, but very defined, dark groove here this weekend. Giving that the door slam is running here as well. Get outside of that groove, you're going to make life very difficult for yourself. Now then, can this man win a championship on this bike? We've seen him do it running 4 cylinders. Can he do it with 2?
Well, he'd be the first man to do it, I would suggest, on both types of motorcycle. I can't think of anybody who has done it in the past, and Chris Matheson has certainly got the potential. This motorcycle, he's loving running this bike because there's not as much maintenance as they have to do on the 4-cylinder bike. This one, it's pretty much take it back to the pits, do a couple of bits and pieces, check everything over, and try to go for the next round of racing. Makes for a lot more of a relaxed atmosphere in the pit area.
That was a good drag race. Ended up being an unusual one, not the times we would have expected. McGuinness was leading at half track, and this will be a great shot, which will show you that.
He was way out in front, and Chris Matheson had to ride around him, only just past him as well, right on the finish line. A good old-fashioned drag race in Top Fuel motorcycle.
Start these bikes with the rear wheel in the air. This camera hanging onto the wheelie bars, which stretch out a long way from the rear tyre. And here comes your defending champ. #1 qualifier as well, knows this track extremely well. Les Holden has drawn the short straw today because he is the #8 qualifier and has the arduous task of taking on Mark Drew.
Well, hey, it's a lot better than not being in the field, but he's got it all ahead of him here. A very different type of motorcycle to what we've seen with Mark Drew.
As the burnouts get ready, Matt Nolte caught up with Les earlier today.
I was awarded the Firefighter of the Year in 2010 for doing a lot of work with firefighter safety, implementing a safety and health system, and also changing the installation standards for solar arrays on houses. But my greatest achievement in sport would have to be making it into the field in Top Fuel motorcycle, and that happens today.
Speaking of firefighters, Alan Dobson on the start line with him. Drew with the smallest of advantages. He's near the centre line and he's on the centre line. He goes through, and goodness me, Holden awarded the win light and Drew disqualified for getting the centre line, but I'll tell you what, it was very close.
Wow, I would not want to be the man making the decision on this one. He picks up the front wheel, and when it came down, it was cranked over towards the centre line. He's doing everything. He's doing a Superman. He's pulling the feet up, trying to avoid those timing cones. He didn't get any of the cones, but the question will be, did he get the centre line?
This is the best angle to see. Oh, see, hard to say because the tyre would be on the right edge at the moment, so I don't know if it actually got it.
I'm going with no. But the decision has been made at the moment to award the win to Les Holden, but I'm sure we're going to be hearing more about that one.
Well, there you go. It's been reversed. Drew's name popping up in the snap-on race ladder to take on Mark Asherford in the semi-final. So it'll be Asherford v Drew, Stevens v Matheson, and I imagine Matt Nolte's going to be down there with a very fired-up Les Holden.
Well, Les Holden had the Nitro Mojo leading into his debut in ANDRA Top Fuel motorcycle. Got the win. It looked like the fairy tale was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, the rule makers changed their minds and Mark Drew gets the win back. What's your thoughts?
Well, that's the way it goes. Look, what happened is I thought he had the win. I saw him take off like an absolute rocket. About 1,000 feet, he got very, very close to the centre line because he'd turned the back tyre. And I thought I was in with a chance, getting on him. And I was concentrating on looking in his back tyre to make sure, see where it was. I don't think he crossed the centre line. He went through by a tenth, and then on the return road, they said I had the win. And well, we'll take it if it's true, but no, to my belief, Mark didn't cross the centre line.
Great camaraderie between you guys. It's your debut in the weekend. Better to be safe than sorry sometimes, isn't it?
Well, I'd rather win a race by winning a race. You know, I'm a racer for a long time, and I'd rather beat someone out in the track than by default. So, well, I'll take it up to him next time.
Well, that's the decision overturned in this round. So Mark Drew goes back into the field. He's going to meet Mark Ashelford. The last time those guys met was right here on this day last year, where Ashelford got the win.
Well, contrary to my expectations, Les Holden taking that in his stride and very sporting. So we're off now to another ad break. And on the other side, semi-finals for ANDRA Top Door Slammer and Top Fuel Motorcycle. Who's going to win it in the West? Welcome back to the Perth Motorplex. That's not the Perth Motorplex up in the sky, but we are very clear skies above all weekend long, as you'd expect in Perth this time of year. And as a result, the punters have filled the joint for what has been a great night of racing so far. The snap-on race ladder is one of controversy, but Mark Drew has been reinstated.
He has been reinstated, and looking at the footage, I think it has been the right decision as well. He'll take on Mark Ashelford in the semi-final number 1, and Ben Stevens taking on Chris Matheson, the 3-time national champ, in the other semi-final. Big race there. In the glow of the big screen, the burnouts. I understand you can actually see that big screen from the moon.
I wouldn't be surprised. This should be a very good matchup. Mark Drew and Mark Ashelford, and Matt Nolte was catching up with the defending champ earlier today.
Probably having a few kids. It's probably one of the best achievements, and last year was our first year that we'd done the full series in top bike, you know, and I'm sort of hoping to defend our title this year.
Well, he's got a long way to go until he can call himself a 2-time champ. He needs to get around Mark Ashelford now to get 20 more ANDRA points. He is in another planet sometimes. That is fast. Ashelford got the centre line in the background, and a 6:39 at 350 plus Ks is incredible. What a run.
He got absolutely nailed to the Christmas tree. For some reason, the candles went out on the Ashelford bike. A lot of raw fuel coming out the right-hand side of that engine. But look at the ride from Mark Drew. The wheel came up, and man, 6:39. He is on a different planet. Come from the moon.
That was amazing. That was a fantastic pass. I'm not sure if anyone's got an answer for 6:30s this weekend. Matheson's not quite there yet on the new bike.
I think by the end of this season, I think he'll certainly be there or thereabouts on this Jack Hammer bike.
Really cool bit of kit this. He's made the switch from 4 cylinders to 2, and Matt Nolte caught up with him before eliminations battle today.
Probably marrying my wife. It's probably the best thing I've done in my life. You know, I've had some good work achievements, but family's, you know, probably number one. As far as the motorsport things, we set the national records, a number of track records. There's been a few, but I've got to say, you know, getting married is probably number one.
Nice touch from Chris Matheson. Obviously, his wife was standing behind the camera.
You're a married man, so I'll let you fill that one.
I am a married man. That is very true. And love you, Kath.
Big ask for Ben Stevens to take on a multiple champ. Ugly past this one, but he'll make it through to tonight's final, and Stevens is skittling the timing blocks at the finish line. Doesn't matter, 7:35 gets the win.
You can see Matheson's bike is trying to do the same thing as what we've seen from Mark Drew. It gets to about the half track mark and starts picking up that front wheel, and it's just there where Chris Matheson really needs to get a handle on it. He needs to understand what this bike wants to do, and I think once he does that, you'll really see this thing come on strong.
He does have his legs spread very wide and hanging off the back of that bike, and very tough to control these beasts at the best of times. So a bit of learning to do for Ben Stevens. He will improve. And at the end, it's going to be Drew versus Matheson on the snap-on race ladder. That's how they'll line up for tonight's final in Top Fuel Motorcycle.
Well, we thought he was out after round 1 of eliminations when we thought he touched the centre line. Not the case. Mark Drew's championship defence starts right now for Perth Harley-Davidson, 6:39. You must have enjoyed that one.
Yeah, no, that was good fun. I don't think it put the front wheel down till pretty well the finish line. That's about the fastest pass here in Perth, I think. So, you know, up until now, I reckon I can probably tweak it a little bit without taking a chance of spinning the back wheel, you know. So hopefully next pass might go a little bit quicker.
Let's go back to round number 1 where we thought you might have got the centre line. It wasn't the case. How's the feeling between you and Les?
Oh, Les come up. Les was come up without me even asking and said that there was no way I could touch the centre line without touching a cone, because these bikes take so long to turn that you couldn't not hit a cone and cross the go across the centre line.
Time for the semi-finals of ANDRA Top Door Slammer, and a crowd that is very well educated in their love of the door slammers, methanol, superchargers, burnouts. Semi-final matchup today is Grant O'Rourke alongside Maurice Fabietti. The now Queenslander was chatting with Matt Nolte earlier.
So Grant O'Rourke, what's your biggest achievement you think you've ever done in your life?
I guess I'd have to say, as far as racing's concerned, over the 20 years we've been doing this, we put a Tirana together 15, 18 years ago, and we took that to world records, Australian records. We won every meeting possible over a period of a couple of years. I think the most recent would undoubtedly be winning the Adelaide event in Top Door Slammer against the guys that you raced against for years. And just the way we went about it, we dedicated it to a mate's kids that got screwed up in that airplane crash. So just going about it, the things we've done over the time, me and Deb primarily, if I went back, it has been a big thing.
World's quickest small block was the record back in the day, and that little Tirana was awesome.
That was a wicked piece of machinery, that Tirana. But time moves on, and so does technology, and he's in this Pontiac Firebird now, and what a fantastic looking thing this is. Carried him to number 3 in the points last season. Incredible effort for a team that I think would admit themselves they do it on a lower budget than a lot of the other guys in this class.
How far can they take it? Can they go to yet another final? Fabietti trying to make good. Tough run of results over the last few years. Massive leap forward and through the beams for O'Rourke.
Yeah, lurched it forward there. Maurice Fabietti, though, I'm not sure that O'Rourke could catch him in a 5.87. He has been on it from the outset this weekend. Maurice Fabietti resurgent in this Top Alcohol Championship, and Grant O'Rourke just pulled through the beams there, just maybe not enough air gap left in the clutch, and, well, that's all it takes.
Sometimes it's just sweet to listen. And that is the low ET in elimination so far for Maurice Fabietti. Okay, that's going to be something to beat. I thought it was daytime under that screen for a second then. That thing is unbelievable. Marty Dack now is the man who has got the John Zappia battle, and he's taken on Zapp many times over the years. Been beaten more times than you'd care to think too.
There's not a lot of people who do have a winning record against John Zappia, it has to be said. 7-time national champion. But there's not anything that we can say that hasn't already been said about this guy. He has come out under numerous circumstances. He's had slow starts to the championship, quick starts to the championship, but it always ends up the same. He always ends up with the trophy at the end of the season. Will that be the case this year? It remains to be seen. The competition is, well, just as tough as what we've seen for the last 10 years in Top Door Slammer, but John Zappia, he is looking for that number 8 title.
He's come this far via Pino Priolo after Pino's red light. You struck a good chord there a second ago, Rusty. He is a traditional slow starter, at least in the last 2 to 3 seasons. Has been starting his championship campaigns with a couple of losses. We saw that happen last year when he lost to Grant O'Rourke in Perth in the early stages. And I remember a couple seasons ago when he lost to Mark Valeri in a Golden States final here. So he's not completely bulletproof early on in a season, and you need whatever points you can get on him at the beginning.
Well, Marty Dack is looking to lay down the number here. Looks like he's got that car cleaned up after the dramas last season, but he's going to need to pull a good one out of the bag to get around Zapp. Well, Dack had the whole shot, but Zappia had it at the other end. 5.81, new low ET for eliminations by a long, long way as well. Looks like Dack threw just about everything at it, but couldn't get there. Shook the tyres, picked the front end up, and John Zappia goes on to another final round here in Perth.
Yep, a fairly sideways moment at the top of first gear. Zappia steals lane choice for tonight's final, and he will move ahead now. With Fabietti, it's always as the conditions get cooler here, the track gets really fast, those times come down nicely, and we could be seeing some side-by-side 580s later in the final.
Fuchs Striker Monaro launched hard, got into the dreaded shake, had to pedal, carried on, went strong. All the sponsors and all the people that have helped us, the crew worked hard. We just had to do a blower change. Our good old blower just had a tight spot in it then. We pulled the hat off, had a look. Didn't look like it's supposed to, so we put it off and put our spare blower on. We're in the final, that's all that matters. Thank you.
Time to hand out some ANDRA silver Christmas trees. The second best trophies you can win in Australian drag racing, behind the gold Christmas trees, but they get given out at the very big race meetings. There's still 100 points on the line though. That's also important. Mark Drew would love to get the points to defend that title.
In such a short championship season, points are what it's all about at these early rounds.
This guy, winner of many championships before him, and also Chris Porter managed to snare one in the middle. It's always nice when the two fastest guys meet in the final. It's the way that elimination battles usually work. And it does mean that we've got the two fastest guys ready to go. But the question is, can Matheson get anywhere near the 630s that we've been seeing from Mark Drew?
They're probably the two bikes that have got the most potential as far as the Harleys go as well.
No doubt.
I think it has to be said. I mean, Chris Matheson, that bike can run very, very low 6-second passes. We've already seen 630s out of Mark Drew.
Oh, and through the line and across the center line. The front wheel was in the air the whole way down. I thought he had that one in the bag, and this time he's definitely got it.
There is no doubt whatsoever. He collected the timing cones. I think he even got them with his right foot, which says a lot when you're in the right-hand lane. He had the thing won. All he needed to do was roll out of the throttle. Chris Matheson was in all sorts of trouble, but he's going to take home the trophy. I tell you what, both riders in a world of trouble, but Matt Nolte is with your winner.
Well, 50% strike rate in ANDRA Top Fuel motorcycle. Chris Matheson, you won a race tonight, an absolute squeaker.
Yeah, we're lucky to get away with it. Mark really made us earn our money all weekend. We've been dragging the chain, but we slowly snuck up. Unfortunately, Mark got the cones in the last pass, and we were lucky we stayed in our lane and we got away with it. But full credit to my team, Graham, Brett, Clint, all those guys. It's the first time we've really run this bike, so we're pretty happy with it. The 640's pretty stout for a jackhammer. So, yeah, we're happy with it. So we're looking forward to coming back over here for the next couple of rounds.
Congratulations to Queensland's Chris Matheson. Mark Drew, though, will still take 98 points away from this, given that he was your #1 qualifier, also taking the low ET and high speed points in what is a very close championship battle that will no doubt go out throughout the season.
Time now for your top door slammer final round for the first round of the championship over here in Perth. And, well, interesting battle this one is. We've got two guys who have had a lot of success over the years, but John Zappia consistently successful. Maurice Fabietti, not so much.
You can almost say that Morris is one of, wait a second, one of, if not the best, door slammer driver to have never won a championship over the years.
You could certainly say that. Interesting thing that I just noticed on his onboard there, the brake was actually working itself. Obviously got a foot brake in the car as well as the handbrake. The two are connected. Just makes for another little safety feature if you don't want to take your hands off the steering wheel. But it's got to be said, Maurice Fabietti went through a real purple patch a couple of years ago. Had a lot of wins on the board, was running some really quick times. It sort of drifted out into the wilderness about the same sort of time that John Zappia really started laying down the dominance. John Zappia now, he's looking for his 8th title. Maurice Fabietti, he's just happy to be in the final round.
It's been a long time out there in that wilderness that you mentioned, and could this be the year that Maurice Fabietti turns that luck around and even maybe snares a championship? Someone's going to take one away from John Zappia eventually. Could it be the Holden Trade Club Monaro? Battle of Monaros, believe it or not, on track right now as well.
Just starting to wonder if John Zappia has to retire before someone can beat him. It's getting to that point, and I think a lot of the door slammer racers are starting to think the same thing.
You guys would love to see the back of him. There's the back of his brother, Richard. Lucky Lorimer with a quick spray onto the butterflies. They're a well-oiled machine, this team. They know how to get win lights. We've seen one 2014 championship man lose a final in Mark Drew. And, oh, they're adjusting the mirror. He's not happy with he uses that mirror to see the Christmas tree lights. Zap to do the chasing. Oh, Fabietti blows the top off it. And as a result, Zappia gets the win. That's heartbreaking.
Wow, Morris Fabietti had that one, and it just let go just before the finish line, just enough to let John Zappia sneak through. He had a massive hole shot, a car length lead at half track, and then boom, lifts the supercharger. I'd suggest that probably did a little bit more damage than that. Let's go on board.
First panels at the back, that big spray of methanol towards the night sky. Zap knew he was in for a race. Gets gift one via mechanical dramas. Let's go down to Matt Nolte.
Well, John Zappia can breathe now. It's been one of those weekends.
Mate, it was just trials and tribulations, scraping the wall, and but 5.68 is a fantastic result, and it's just gone crazy all around the world on Facebook and YouTube and that. But the Fook Striker Monaro is just going like a rocket all weekend. New sponsor Macca Limited coming on board. Morris had a jump on me. As soon as it rattled, I saw him pull away a bit, pedalled it, started to catch him, and then he dropped off. So I knew something went wrong with his car. It would have been a tight race to the finish line otherwise, But fantastic result to get a win on the first meeting of the season. We're leading the championship. We got the low ET. We got the top speed. What a way to start a season.
Congratulations, Zap. He is your number one man in the points, and I wonder if he'll ever relinquish that points lead in 2015. Morris Fabietti with some work to do. Also Stuart Bishop, who's not on that list. Also Peter Kapiris, who's not on that list.
Also Victor and Ben Bray not on that list as well. There's a lot of names going to be doing some chasing.
Thank you very much to Rusty Gregory for joining me for round one. We're going to continue racing through to June. Cannot wait to see how the ANDRA Championship drag racing season unfolds. andra.com.au for more details. We'll see you at round two. Through the smallest of advantages. He's near the centre line and he's on the centre line.
I'm going with no.
Well, there you go. It's been reversed. Here it comes.
John Zappia with the run of the last 5 years, I'd say.
Carries the front wheels. All eyes on the Monaro as he gets to the 60s. The first time ever in Australian door slammer racing.